Well, hello, and welcome back to the PJH Writing Command Center. And I am Paul John Hausleben of God Bless the Cake Publishing, LLC. And we would like to welcome you to this episode of our podcast. And we are here in the Writing Command Center, and I'm the flagship author, chief photographer, music reviewer, music critic, chief operator at radio station WA2ASQ, Whiskey Alpha 2 Alpha Sierra Quebec, ham radio station, and chief cook, bottle washer. And oh, yeah, I'm the host for this podcast. And I was originally going to do a podcast. I have a whole list of, oh my goodness gracious, all these topics. And we've had a really great response to the podcast. This is only episode number 4 now. And we've been flooded with emails and comments and a lot of good stuff. And I really thank you and appreciate that. Really do. And as the author of an upcoming novel, which will be, I believe, my 20th novel, it'll be the conclusion of my Detective Lyle Odell series, as Odell kind of wraps up his career, and I back it into where he was introduced into the writing world in my novel O'Malley. And when we publish that, which is looking like maybe June or July, that'll be kind of a milestone. I don't know how many more novels I have left. Novels are tough. I always say that writing is the hardest thing I've ever done. And my goodness gracious, I've done a lot of different things in my career. If you look at my book experiences, it details some of the things I've done. And many people say, Paul, you lived 1,000 lives, and maybe I have, but I don't know how many more novels I have left, but I think that'll be the 51st book or 51st publication. But at any rate, I have a bunch of topics here, and I was going to go off in a direction about the modern workplace. And a couple conversations I had this previous week about the modern workplace and the things that I've seen as an old dog around different facilities and different buildings and different companies. And in my other careers, I've managed properties and facilities for a very long time. That's part of that 1,000 lives, folks. But I was going to do a podcast on all the things that I see that are so different and so changed from when I first started. But I guess everybody can say that to a certain extent. But things come along, and I get these emails and I get these ideas and I get these tangents, and I just go off in a different direction. And that's what I did today, because I came across my notes and I was like, okay, Paulie, this is what you're going to record and this is what you're going to do. And boom, everything went off in a different direction. Partly because I opened an email, and partly because of I'm going to use the word that my son used when he was very, very young. Hopefully, if he listens to this recording and podcast, he'll forgive me. But he had a brilliant mind as a young man, and he still does. And but he couldn't say certain words, so they just would come out, and instead of a coincidence, it was a quinky dink. So because of a quinky dink today, I got this email, and then this other incident happened, and the idea came in my head, and I crossed off what I was going to talk about, and here we are. So my old man used to say, just because it's newer doesn't mean it's better. And my goodness, has that come to fruition so many times now as of late, as I've gotten old or older. Take a sip of water here. I'm sorry. Um, but newer doesn't mean it's better. And my goodness, I've seen that so many times as of late. And that rewinds back to the the original topic I was going to talk about the modern workplace. But I am a ham radio operator. I have a love of radio, and I love to have 100 podcasts about how much I love the magic of radio and how it's influenced my life and guided my direction so much. Um, and I'm kind of old school and stuck in the mud on a lot of things. Like sports, I listen to all my sports primarily on the radio. There's something about listening to sports on the radio, and I just love it. And particularly, I enjoy hockey, I enjoy baseball, and football, American football on the radio. Of all the sports, my Premier League soccer, go Nottingham Forest, come on, you Reds. I do enjoy soccer live as opposed to the other sports on the radio. But a couple weeks ago, I was thumbing through boxes and cleaning things up, and I found an old ham radio of mine from 1983, and I had packed it away, and I looked at it and dusted it off and said, oh my goodness, this is a classic. It's a 10 Tech Corsair 2. It's a classic of all classics. And I got a bug and polished it all up and took it out of the box, and it had a little things wrong with it, but I'm a pretty good technician even at my old age and my old eyes. And I cleaned it all up, had a little problem with the LED readout, and put it back on the air a couple weeks ago, and it popped into my head. Newer is not always better. The radio is marvelous. It's and I have a modern radio here that's brandy dandy new, and it looks like, I don't know, it looks like the push buttons on a modern car on the dashboard. It doesn't look like a radio, but and I'm not a Luddite totally, where I am anti new technology, but I do love the old things, and that radio is just as marvelous as it was back in the 80s. And to get back to the Quinky Dink, I received an email from a reader, and it was a she, and she said to me in the email how much she enjoyed the story. I believe it's in the summer collection, which is a collection of short stories and novellas about the old chair. And the old chair is a Paul John Henson, who's from the Adventures of Harry and Paul, and loosely based, not loosely, it's largely based upon me being Paul John, and my best buddy growing up, Harry M. Redmond Jr., who's really Harry Michael Rogers Jr. And she really was touched, and it was quite an emotional email about her own experience with an old chair. And she wrote in this email, my goodness, how you touched me with this story about an old chair. And I have my own memories about this chair I sit in now. And the old chair is about a woman, an older woman, who was a parishioner at Pastor. The character is Paul John Henson has gone on to be a pastor at a Lutheran church in New Jersey after a long career of hockey and doing other things. Uh, where does that ring a bell? But he's left the church a long time ago and gone on to be the bishop of the Lutheran Synod in this fictional world. And this old parishioner passes away, and in her will, she wills to Bishop slash Pastor Henson her old chair. And she details when they go to pick up the old chair, they read a note, and they being Pastor Henson and his wife, and the son of the woman who passed away gives them this note. And in the note, she details why she left the chair to Pastor Henson and all the memories and experiences and things that went along with the old chair. Everything from her first kiss with her her boyfriend, who became her husband, to a house cat, their cat, who gave birth to kittens in the chair. And it is an emotional story. When we pulled together a bunch of short stories for my collection, Greetings from 182 Belmont Avenue, the Essential Collection, we called it, it was selected by a party of some readers to be included in there as one of my best short stories. And it is quite emotional. And I think, to the old man's point, newer is not always better. And I thank the reader for her email. It was quite touching. And after I did so, I picked up the manuscript and I found the book myself, and I reread the story. It's been many, many years since I wrote it, and many, many years since I read it. I'm not a big fan of reading my own material, and I write it, get it done, and move on. So I had forgotten parts and pieces of it, and when I reread it, I realized, yeah, it has some amazing validity to it. And to get back to the Quinky Dink, shortly after I received the email and then reread the old chair story, I was poking around in my closet, and I found an old shirt. And the old shirt was black. I do have a fondness for wearing black clothes. And it was a button-up shirt, and it was kind of like an overshirt. I would call it an overshirt. I would wear it over something else in the tweener weather. I like the cold weather and not a fan of hot weather, so I would wear this shirt on tweener days, in the fall or in the spring, when it might have been cold in the morning and warm in the afternoon, and I didn't need a coat, but I just needed something to break the chill. And it had lost a button recently, and today, when I dug around to wear it, I had to run out on an errand. I realized I now had a tear on the sleeve. And I thought to myself, my goodness gracious, this shirt is so old. I mean, 10, 12, 15 years, I don't know. And I looked at it and I kind of crumpled it up and almost took it to the trash can and chucked it. And then I stopped and I remembered, wow, we have a coincidence, a quinky dink here. Wow, the old chair. I got this old shirt. There's a lot of memories. It's just an old shirt, but very much like the old chair, there's a lot of things associated with it that we connect to. And I thought to myself, wow, I wonder if I could order such a thing now or find such a thing, because newer isn't always better. Instead, I laid it on my table and got out my sewing kit and sewed up the little tear on the sleeve. And yeah, I got to find a button to match. And it's quite faded from the original black. And now it's more gray and more white than it is black. But it's comfortable. And it's the old shirt, very much like the old chair. And sometimes we hold on to things in life for whatever reason, and maybe we shouldn't, and maybe we should. And I look back and rereading the story of the old chair. Maybe that's why I wrote the story. I don't know. I did have an old chair. It finally fell apart. But you sit in an old chair and you put on an old pair of boots and you have an old pair of sneakers and you have an old pair of jeans. And you have an old hat. And they just feel like, yeah, they're old. But I know if I go out there and look, I might find something shinier and I might find something more expensive and I might find something that looks better, but it won't be the same. My father was the great backyard mechanic. I called him the best backyard mechanic in all of Haledon and Patterson, New Jersey. And he had a 1964 Rambler, classic model 660, with a push-button transmission, and it was blue, and it had a lot of rust and rot. And there was a guy in Patterson, Earl Schreiber, and he used to have an advertisement on TV, and he said, "I'll paint any car for $50." I think it was $49.95. And my old man fixed up this Rambler, and in my books I call it the Putter Classic, because it did putt around. It was a straight six engine, and he took it down to Earl Schreiber and had it painted up, and man, he was proud of that car. And we didn't have a lot of money, so the car was part of our lives. And he had it for years and years and years. And I remember most of my weekends growing up from about 12 years of age to, I swear, I was 18 and ready to get out of the house. And we spent our weekends, the old man would tap me on the shoulder on a Friday. He said, we got to put a water pump. We got to put a water pump on the Rambler. He would even rebuild the heads. He'd pop off the head. I should say it's the head. It's single, not plural. And when I was a little guy, he'd put it in my wagon, and he had called over to Haledon Auto Parts for an exchange head because the valves were burned. And he'd say, "Don't get mugged." Because our neighborhood wasn't quite the greatest. And he'd give me $50 or $25. I don't remember what it was. And he'd put the old head in my wagon, and I'd run through the city streets, keeping an eye out over my shoulder, as the old man used to say, head on a swivel. And I'd get to Haledon Auto Parts and tap on the side door at the machine shop, and a guy full of grease and cutting oil and a distinctive smell would come out, and he'd say, "You Paulie?" Yeah, I'm Paulie. You got the dough? Yeah, I got the dough. Here it is. And he'd take the old head out and give the old man $10 credit, and he put the new head in there that was machined, and I'd ride back, and the old man pop it on the Rambler. Put a new gasket on there with I remember it was called Indian Head Compound, and it had a chief guy on the bottle, and it smelled like shellac. I think it was just shellac. And put that gasket on the head, and then he flopped the head down into the compound to prevent leaks and button it up. And my goodness, that car had 338,000 miles on it. And it rode and drove and putted along like a charm. And my father finally got promoted and achieved a little bit of status. And I was, oh my gosh, older, playing hockey, ready to get out of the house. And he sold it. He finally sold it. And I don't think my father was ever the same after he sold that old putter, the old Rambler. And every once in a while, we'd be sitting on the front stoop in Belmont Ave, and he sold it to a guy who owned a gin mill, a bar down at the end of Belmont Avenue in Patterson. Every once in a while, we'd be sitting on the front stoop there, and he'd say, "Oh, geez, Paulie, there goes the Rambler." And sure enough, it'd be going up the street, and the powder blue paint was all rusted out now and everything. The car was still going. And newer isn't always better. There's I often wonder how many miles that car actually got. Probably 500,000, right? Maybe. And there's a song by, she's a Jersey gal from Princeton, Mary Chapin Carpenter. Crossover country. I kind of call her folk. And she has a song called This Shirt, The Shirt. I think it's This Shirt. And she sings a song about a shirt. And all this stuff came together today. And when I found the tear in my shirt, and in Mary Chapin Carpenter's song, she mentions a tear in an old shirt that she loved, and it just fit her perfect. And when I sewed up the little tear on my sleeve and put the old shirt back in my closet, I thought to myself, wow, I'm going to listen to that song. I hadn't heard it a long time. And it's from the 90s, I think, early 90s. And I am a music guy and listen to all kinds of music, and we'll get into that. But I sat down, listened to the song and the lyrics, and she's got a great voice and great backing band, and she nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. And I thought to myself, my goodness, newer isn't always better. And yeah, I have an old shirt. And you guys out there, I'm sure you got old sneakers and old boots and old hats and old pants and old sweaters that just feel right. So thank you, Reader Joan, for sending me that great email today. And thank you for the tear in my old shirt. And thank you for reminding me of how smart my father really, really was. And I'll talk more about him in other podcasts. And if you read the books, the character of the old man is my father. And it's pretty close. Newer isn't always better. And we'll get to the modern workplace, but instead I kind of penciled this podcast in, and that's where we're going. And I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe dig around in your old closet, or maybe sit in your own old chair, or tune in on an old radio and listen to the Yankees. Or maybe have a cup of coffee in an old mug that coffee just doesn't taste like coffee unless it's in the old mug, or a beer stein that the beer just tastes different. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And hey, we'll see you next time. And if you enjoyed the podcast, that's great. If you think I'm a lunatic from Patterson, New Jersey, that's fine too. You won't hurt my feelings. You can reach us at godblessthekegpublishing@gmail.com. We appreciate any comments, any thumbs up, any thumbs down. We'll see you next time. Thanks.